A lot of people are already voting as we speak. And in the days up until today, more than 29 million people from 45 states have voted as of this morning, either by mail or in person. Nearly half of those votes, almost 14.2 million ballots, have come from Democrat affiliated voters. Republican affiliated voters have returned almost 10.1 million ballots. Now that doesn't mean that that's who they voted for. This is just what their party affiliation is. And obviously many of those don't have an official listed party affiliation. So we don't know exactly what the distribution of votes is. But so far, we do know that there's a lot of people who are already actively participating, thanks in some states to the fact that the vote has been opened up, especially in terms of mail-in voting because of the pandemic conditions. To put it in perspective, by the way, the total number of ballots cast already represents almost 1/5 of the more than 136 million total ballots cast back in the last presidential election in 2016. And there's still a couple of weeks of early voting, let alone the actual vote on that day. So it is looking so far like we're gonna have a lot more participation in the 2020 election than back in 2016, Quay, although it remains to be seen who that actually benefits.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm no political analyst, but I generally hear political analysts say turnout benefits Democrats almost all the time. Not necessarily that everybody turning out when we have increased Democrats, but that usually means that we're going to get more Democratic votes in comparison. So, I mean, I don't know what to make of that. It is Texas. Folks are talking about, and I have this little spot in my heart, like you said, we lived there for a while. That Texas would turn blue. That would, I mean, maybe you tell me, but my understanding is if that happens, it's over. It's over. Like
let's jump into Texas damned. Because. Yeah, exactly. So I introed this topic as if I care about all of the states, and I guess I do, but Texas is the part that I want to focus on. So Texas is leading the nation in early voting with over 4 million ballots already cast. So that's 4 million of the 29 million so far cast. Following closely behind is California, where I'm broadcasting from, with over 3 million votes, and Florida at 2.5 million. Texas's early votes account for nearly 14% of all the votes already cast nationally, and roughly 45% of the 9 million total votes counted in Texas during the 2016 presidential election. So they are already, just in Texas, almost at half of the vote. We're weeks away from election day. Wow. And so a couple things. I agree with you that new turnout probably benefits the Democrats for a couple of reasons. First of all, Republicans already generally have a turnout advantage. They're generally pretty good at that. Their voters are high enthusiasm. The Democrats not so much so. So if enthusiasm goes up, it's gonna disproportionately benefit the Democrats. And in particular, in areas like Texas, where the vote, racial and other demographic breakdown doesn't tend to line up very well with the actual breakdown of the population there, increasing turnout raises the possibility that it could become more representative. And yeah, so in terms of Texas, if Texas flips, it's 38, I think 38 electoral votes. There's no plausible election or map where Trump loses so bad that he loses Texas and finds a way to make up 38 electoral votes in other states. That just probably isn't gonna happen. Now, we did live in Texas for a number of years. It's been hypothesized that this is coming. What do you think about the prospect of a blue Texas?
I think it's possible. I mean, usually southern states tend to be Republican or conservative, if you want. But of course, the other thing that you got to think about in a state, I think, is how many cities does it have? How many metropolitan areas, which of course tend to be blue? Well, Texas has like 5 major cities in it. It's obviously a vast state, so that dilutes some of that. And there's lots of country, and West Texas is almost all kind of small towns and little cities. But it seems like if Houston, Austin, we'll throw Dallas in there too, though it tends to be a more conservative city. In San Antonio, right, get their stuff together. El Paso, get their stuff together, right? It seems like that's pretty possible. Beto O'Rourke, right, was trying to win and thought he could win for a minute that Senate seat.
It was close.
Yeah, and so I think it's possible, and I don't know. I just wonder what Republicans are going to do if Democrats could reliably or even sometimes hold both California and Texas. Is that it, for them in terms of national elections?
I mean, it kind of feels like, in terms of the national popular vote, it seems like it's been it for a bit. Yeah, right. that would be massive. Now, follow-up question would be, is this a durable change to Texas, or is this an anti-Trump wave? That would be important. But I think that, let's say that hypothetically they win Texas and it is a durable thing. It seems like we have, midterm elections and that goes blue too, something like that. I think that would have the single best chance of forcing Republicans to actually reconfigure their politics. And actually, because right now, the Republican Party is years and years out from even really trying to pretend to be offering a legislative alternative to the Democrats. They'll say we're gonna repeal and replace Obamacare, but that's not a healthcare plan. Right. It's mostly doubling down on social, cultural issues and doubling down on voter suppression. If they lost Texas, then I feel like there has to be a change. They have to come up with something new, but that is going to run into the brick wall of their base increasingly being QAnon cultists and things like that, which aren't necessarily gonna be really amenable to, okay, well, here's our new view on climate change. That might be a rough period for the Republicans if that does happen.
Do you think if the Republicans split up in that way, you get kind of Republican classic and then you get Republican Trump, I'll say. Do you think the Democrats would follow suit, right? Because there is a bit of a divide in the Democratic Party in terms of Bernie versus Biden, if you want, but kind of east west, but far left versus kind of moderate left. Do you think that split would kind of increase the likelihood or increase the process of that division as well? I know you're supposed to ask me questions.
Sorry, yeah, no, that's true. And I was a little bit distracted by my near Mike Pence moment. I don't know, there's no people here, there's no stuff here, but somehow there's a fly. Anyway, no, I don't think so. I think that the 2020 primary was a potential breaking point. Trump eased that away from breaking because he's just so awful that it's easier to realize, okay, we can sort of set this aside for a couple of years, return to it. I think that Bernie has done literally everything he could have possibly been asked to do to try to keep these groups together. But the expectation is that Biden better deliver on some of what the left wants. And the way that 2024 goes is gonna be really critical too. I think that if the Dems are hot off of a landslide victory, which any Texas win would have to be accompanied by a landslide victory, we're talking like 400 electoral college votes or something like that, probably. Maybe not, but probably close to that. And the Republicans are falling apart. I think that would provide a bit of glue for the Democrats, possibly. I don't know for sure. And there's going to be an ideological reckoning in the Democratic Party over the next 4 years. I don't see it being as significant as that same divide for the Republicans if the Republicans are facing not being a nationally competitive party, hypothetically. Right. By the way, we might be getting way ahead of ourselves.
Of course.
Because if it turns out like Biden winning by 1% in Texas would be the biggest thing ever. Biden losing by 1 point, which is it was a very close Ted Cruz, Beto O'Rourke election, is like, it's as irrelevant as them losing by 30. And so I really hope that they campaign there. I really hope that Biden actually takes a trip there. I feel like they could spare the time. And certainly there's people like, the Castros and Beto O'Rourke. A lot of people are trying to flip Texas. We'll see. We'll see in the end if it's successful.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of wishful thinking, but
it might be.
We wouldn't know that just in terms of how, election night's gonna be a mess anyway, but just in terms of when that would happen, it would be pretty far after some states that we were looking to see flip anyway. I mean, if things come in, all things being equal, right? Because we'd get Florida pretty early, we'd get, Pennsylvania, Ohio, right? Those states before we even got to Texas. And so at that point, it might not even be a question, it just might be a symbol of,
That's a great point. Because Florida not only will close a little bit earlier, but I have heard from people who know that Florida is positioned to count their mail-in ballots pretty fast. Texas might be too. I don't really know. From what I know about Texas election system more broadly, I would say that probably not. And if Florida goes for Biden, then it doesn't really matter if Texas goes for Biden. in terms of the election. It matters more generally. I would say the healthiest thing is just expect that you're not going to know the results night of. Anticipate a rough week. Tune in to the damage report. That's what I would.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
I am too.
I'll be here.
Oh yeah.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.